everyone, happy World Rare Disease Day 2021. World Rare Disease Day is always held on the last day of February every year and is to raise awareness for the 400 million people globally that are affected by rare diseases. I myself am affected by rare disease. If you haven't seen my videos before, welcome to my channel. And welcome back everybody else and all my subscribers. My name is Shelby Lewis and I am a disabled YouTuber. I am affected by a couple different rare diseases actually, but the main one that I typically talk about is Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, or Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, otherwise known as EDS. EDS is a rare genetic connective tissue disorder that affects my entire body and most of my systems. EDS is a genetic mutation of the collagen gene in most cases, and collagen is the most abundant protein in your body. So everything that's meant to hold me together, my collagen, my connective tissue, my skin, blood vessels, organs, a lot of different things, anything that's built from collagen or connective tissue is basically too stretchy. It's not held together properly, and therefore it affects almost my entire body. So today for World Rare Disease Day, I just wanted to give you a look into my world and what it's like living with a rare disorder, and specifically what it's like living with EDS. So EDS is different for every single person that lives with it. I'm just sharing my account of what it's like living with EDS, but it might be completely different for the next person, so keep that in mind as I talk about this. So basically, the biggest thing about living with Ehlers Danlos Syndrome is the chronic pain. I live with horrible, debilitating chronic pain every single moment of every single day. And I'm not sharing this information as a Sally sob story and to make you feel bad for me. It's more so an education piece of just looking into the world of what I live with. Basically, every morning when I wake up, I will have either subluxed or dislocated something in my sleep. The thing with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is because my connective tissue, and specifically my joints, are too stretchy, my joints aren't strong enough to hold things in place properly. So my elbows, shoulders, and hips typically will dislocate in my sleep because I move around a lot, because if I stay in one certain position for too long, my joints then lock up and I wake up from being in severe pain. So I basically move around every 20 minutes and change positions during sleep, and sometimes I will move into a position that is not good, but because I'm asleep, I don't know, and that will cause me to dislocate or subluxate one of my joints. So typically when I wake up, I need to put things back into place before I can get out of bed. Another thing is, because my joints are too lax and too stretchy, my muscles have to work overtime to keep everything in place. Now, if anybody's ever had a knot in their back, imagine your entire back muscles are completely knotted to hold your spine in place. That's how my neck and my back constantly are. So I have chronic neck and back pain, and usually in the morning my back is so tight that I can't breathe. So what I have to do is basically manually adjust myself like I would get at a chiropractor, just to open some of those muscles up so that I can get a full breath. Sounds very dramatic, but that's just what I'm used to, and that's what my typical morning looks like. Now, because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and because of the issues with my connective tissue, like I said, it affects my blood vessels and organs as well. So that causes a lot of comorbidities that come with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which are other chronic conditions that are basically paired with the other chronic conditions. So another thing that I have because of my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS. So in the morning, my body has been laying flat for about 8 hours. So when I stand up, like a normal person, my blood will pool, but normal people, their blood vessels constrict to move that blood back up to where it needs to be, and then they're good to go. You know, sometimes if you stand up too fast, you get a little bit lightheaded. That's just because you've lost some blood, but you know, your body will pump it back up normally, and then you'll be good. With me, because my connective tissue is too stretchy, my blood vessels can't properly constrict to get that blood up to my head. So if I just wake up in the morning and I just stand up, all of my blood is going to pool to my feet and not get back up to my head in time. So I will completely black out because there's not enough blood in my head. So this causes a lot of lightheadedness, dizziness. I black out. My heart races extremely fast when I stand up. Typically, if I'm laying down, I'll be at about 70 beats per minute. And then when I stand up, it'll go to about 120, sometimes up to 140 just from standing up because my heart is beating so fast trying to get that blood back to my head so I don't pass out. So typically in the mornings, what I do is either I will put compression stockings on to manually compress those blood vessels to make sure that my blood doesn't stay and pool in my feet for too long. Or what I'll do is I'll sit up and then I'll just stay in the sitting up position for a couple minutes so that my body can get used to this postural change, and then I will stand up. And even still, sometimes I'll black out from doing that, but I just have to be careful. Sometimes I just have to go straight into my wheelchair to make sure that I don't pass out. That's how I wake up and get out of bed. Another thing about the mornings is because of my EDS and because my joints and chronic pain are constantly making me move around, I need to have a sleep study done to properly diagnose this, but I basically do not get restful sleep ever because I constantly have to be changing position and waking up. I have to put my shoulder back in sometimes just to go back to sleep, or I'll wake up with my leg completely dislocated out of my hip. And so it's a lot of waking up. I never get restful sleep. And another symptom of POTS is chronic fatigue syndrome. So whenever I wake up in the morning, I've basically felt like I've gotten an hour of sleep, and I could literally sometimes on the weekends, I will literally sleep for 12 hours. I will get up, eat breakfast, take my meds, and then literally go back to sleep for 2 or 3 more hours as a nap. I could literally sleep all day. I'm always exhausted, and I think honestly that's one of my most debilitating symptoms of EDS and POTS is the chronic fatigue, because I'm just not able to do things like I could before. I'm so tired all the time that it's exhausting to brush my hair. I mean, it's really hard. I have to be honest, the chronic fatigue is one of my worst symptoms. With the chronic pain and chronic fatigue that I live with, it's very difficult for me to do normal things that a regular person would do. I mean, I can't walk for more than 10 to 15 minutes at a time. That's just dangerous for me. I mean, my joints are at risk of giving out. Sometimes my knees will completely give out and I will collapse, and that's never safe. So I have to be more careful. I mean, that's part of my responsibility for myself. Another thing I have to be careful of is my skin is very sensitive. So obviously your connective tissue also includes your skin. People with EDS typically have very fragile skin, so I bruise very easily. I'm typically covered in bruises that I don't know where I got them from. And another example I can give you is I was out on the pontoon at my fiance's family's cabin, and one of the seats has kind of been falling apart. It's a little bit older of a pontoon, and so they had previously duct taped the seats, and then the duct tape kind of wore off, but duct tape leaves that kind of sticky residue. So I sat down on the seat, and I was wearing a swimsuit, and so my leg got stuck to the duct tape. And it's not a strong adhesive. It's not anything that a normal person would have to worry about, but when I stood up, my skin was ripped off just from sitting on some sticky duct tape. So it's things like that, Band-Aids, just typical regular Band-Aids will rip my skin off. Another comorbidity that comes along with EDS, so because my joints are very stretchy and lax, that also includes the joints that my head and my neck are attached to. So with that, I have atlantoaxial instability. Now, when you have instability in your head, it's kind of like you have a bobblehead just bonking around on your neck. That causes a lot of other issues. So because of that, I have troubles with my eyes. If you can see, this eye is extremely floppy. This one is too, but it's not as severe. So if you're looking, you can see even my eyebrow is lower. It's kind of funny, honestly. But that's one thing. I have problems with my eyesight because of it. Sometimes I can't keep my eyes open. I get tinnitus or ringing in my ears. I have trouble swallowing. Sometimes I will be about to swallow something and my muscles basically just don't respond, and so I can't swallow. I also have numbness and tingling in my arms. Sometimes I have it in my legs and my feet. What else comes along with EDS? So much. I mean, I could literally go on for hours and tell you what EDS affects in my body because it's insane. A couple weeks ago, I was wiping the countertop and my finger dislocated and was sideways. I mean, it's just really random. Unfortunately, I just have to be extra careful because the more that my joints sublux and dislocate, the more damaged they become, and which is kind of what the degeneration is in EDS. And so I just have to be really careful. That's why I use my wheelchair, because when I walk, my knees will sublux and are super painful. My ankles sublux, my hips sublux, my spine, my elbows, wrists, fingers, neck, and honestly, the most painful ones are when my ribs sublux or dislocates. Unbelievable pain. I mean, you literally, you're breathing and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God. And then you can't breathe because if you breathe in, then your rib or your lungs move the rib and it's just horrible. It's horrible. So Ehlers Danlos Syndrome is degenerative. I have continually seen myself getting worse and worse. And it's hard as a young person. I'm 24 years old. That's been an adjustment period for me. I was diagnosed last year in 2020 in June. And, you know, I've been suffering with this since I was roughly 7 to 8 years old, but I didn't have a diagnosis and I didn't know what was wrong with me for my entire life. And I was constantly in and out of doctors as a kid. We couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. We never really realized that all of the symptoms I was having were all related. They were all because of one thing. Ehlers Danlos syndrome, you know, causes me so many different things. I mean, I have digestive issues as well because of my Ehlers Danlos syndrome. I have problems with my stomach because it can't contract properly and, you know, things like that. It's been a year of me coming to terms with the fact that I am a disabled woman. And I take pride in that. I mean, I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. I think the disabled community is super welcoming, and just coming to terms with being a disabled person and learning about all of the internalized ableism that I've had in my life, and trying to work through that. And being a part of the EDS community has helped so much with that. I think that's such an important part of having a rare disease and celebrating World Rare Disease Day is that there's 400 million other people out there who have rare diseases. And obviously, when you have a rare disease, I mean, obviously you are one of few people who suffer with these things, and it's really difficult to get proper medical care when doctors don't really know what to do with you. But knowing that there's 400 million other rare people out there makes rare not feel so rare. So we have to celebrate together, and obviously today's our day to just appreciate, you know, the lives that we have and the difficulties that we live with, and to just be there for each other. And I think that's really important. But I think I've said enough. I just want to say happy World Rare Disease Day to all of the other people out there living with rare diseases. You are incredible, strong people. And I hope that anybody else out there who is struggling with some health problems and looking for a diagnosis, just keep fighting for that. You deserve a diagnosis, and just keep going on until you have one. You have to be the biggest advocate for yourself because nobody else knows exactly what you're going through, and you need to be able to tell doctors, I deserve a diagnosis and I'm going to keep fighting until I get one. So happy World Rare Disease Day. Thank you guys so much for watching and taking a look into my world for a little bit. And please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you get notified when I have more videos coming out. So I will see you next time. Bye.